Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Forrester, and welcome to this NDS panel, this NDS Perspectives panel, this afternoon looking at the one-stop shop operator. We have three great guests to help guide us through this maze. On your extreme left, Yoni Hashkes, a Senior Vice President at NDS. In the center, David Mercer, Senior Analyst at Strategy Analytics. And on my immediate alongside here, Marcello Maggioni, an Executive Vice President at Sky Deutschland, looking after customer group at Sky Deutschland. I'm going to break with tradition, and instead of going up and down the panel, I'm going to the guy in the middle here, because he's absolutely platform agnostic and neutral. David, you number crunch and you examine the market day by day by day. Give us an idea as to some of the trends as you see it coming into our industry and affecting cable and satellite operators.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chris. I think in terms of the concept of the one-stop shop, certainly when there's clearly a lot of interest in multiplay now as a theme in the industry, and that clearly takes us beyond purely the entertainment space. And what we are seeing is operators like the cable companies and indeed the telcos beginning to bundle additional communication services into the single packages. In fact, it may surprise people to know already in Germany today, our recent survey showed that nearly half of customers are taking a multi-play service. In other words, at least two services from the same operator. And that's either broadband or a television package or fixed voice or mobile voice. And triple play penetration actually is already at 11% in the German market. So it's already the case, I think, that customers are beginning to move towards accepting using the same services from a single provider, and we see that trend continuing certainly over the coming years.
Thank you, David. You've mentioned Germany, so let's leap straight into Germany. Yoni, I'll come back to you in a second. Marcello, you've got some significant competition out there in your market. You're a satellite operator, a satellite player in a very, very crowded market where traditionally the consumer has been a little reluctant to pay for television. Can you be that one-stop shop for their entertainment needs?
Well, the obvious answer is, of course we can. If not, we are. Actually, traditionally, we have been distributing over satellite and cable connected homes for the past 20 years, I think, for history of pay TV in Germany. I think to answer to your question of the one-stop shop, we need to define what one-stop is, because there are different levels, and actually what we mentioned now. Let me start from the bottom of that. One-stop is where the content is. So customer is buying content. It's not buying a connection, and it's not buying not even bandwidth or capacity. They're buying a movie, they're buying a live event, they're buying an HD documentary or content for the kids, and this is countless. So to that extent, we are definitely a one-stop shop. We have the best content which is currently available in the German TV market, and we distribute that via a different delivery systems. But there are different levels of one-stop shop. Triple play, for instance, means that you have one supplier for your connectivity. And then if you go even one level below, it means, for the customer, it means how many bills am I going to receive at the end of the month, which are actually covering my telephony needs, my TV needs, my even electricity or water in the future, etc., etc. Sometimes we're kidding in our teams that we're not so much and saying, oh, well, you know, that's pentaplay or sextuple play if you include the water, electricity, and the garbage. And so we need really to narrow down the question. It is one-stop shop for TV entertainment content. Yes, we can.
Yoni, what's the NDS view? Now you'll package up or you'll slice and dice as your customer instructs you, I guess. But is there a role? Can there be the role for the one-stop shop player in your experience?
Well, Chris, as you kind of hint to, NDS does follow our customers' needs. We're very attuned to them, and we try to be very close to their needs, not too far behind, not too far ahead. I think what we see now is that there are at least two dimensions that recent technology has enabled, which requires a technology solution. One of them is application functionality. So not just watching raw TV, but higher levels of applications, connecting companion devices, the roaming of functionality, being able to transport content from one place to another. And the other dimension would be, I guess, also what the content is. In a way, what we see is that our content, our customers, over the years, and this is not the last 2 or 3 years, I would say 15 years, have gradually been coalescing around larger branded channels where the specialty content and specialty channels have been picked up by the internet. So the average person wants to watch some kind of extreme sports. Where do they go? Well, it used to be 15 years ago, they would turn the TV on, go to a sports channel, and hope to find something on it, probably not find much. Then along came internet, which with Google and YouTube and other video sources, now tends to serve the customer in those areas that they're very passionate about more than existing customers. So that would be the second dimension. There's one other point I think Marcello hinted to here about quad play and 5, 6, etc. We have heard concerns about bill shock. You know, if you load everything on the bill, then at some point the customer says, oh my God, they don't recognize that this is, you know, all these different services together. They just see Sky Deutschland is charging me €200 per month. I got to get off Sky Deutschland. You know? So a certain concern about bundling too much together into one.
Good
bill.
comment. Good comment. David, let's ask you, if I may, to drill down a little as to the expectations of most consumers and most users of these sort of services. Youngsters. Now, youngsters today are tomorrow's subscribers as they go into families of their own. But are they on a different agenda, you know, the 14, 15, 20-year-old, in the way they expect their entertainment and their content to be packaged for them?
Well, I think there are several dimensions to that question, certainly, Chris. Clearly, the way that people are accessing content, as you say, the younger audiences today is changing radically. I mean, there's no question that in terms of usability, we were talking about over lunch about the fact that young kids nowadays are growing up with touchscreen devices. And if you show them a button control remote control in the traditional way, actually they're mystified by it. So the behaviors are certainly beginning to change, and obviously the way accessing content, going on demand, finding what you're looking for, switching from one thing to another, communicating while you're, consuming that content. Youngsters are certainly behaving very differently. I think what's going to be interesting as we move forward, are they going to maintain those behaviors as they get older, as they move into their own household, set up their own families? Because there is some evidence that as we all get more mature, which unfortunately is the case for most of us, behavior does change over time. And, there comes a time after a hard few days at IBC, you want to get home and sit down on the couch and have entertainment thrown at you rather than have to do too much work. So I think although there is clearly some change in those early years, we shouldn't necessarily assume that's a template for future behavior.
Marcello, under the Sky Deutschland umbrella, you are nevertheless, in terms of distribution, partnering is too strong a word, but tapping into cable. You're beginning to find some traction from cable customers, thank goodness. But does this make a difference to the way you look at how you're going to present options to those viewers?
I don't think partnering is too much of a word. I think partnering is what it is, because it's the only way for a platform like Sky Deutschland to work with the cable guys is to understand what's the role of each other in the chain and understand how you get to the customers. Starting from the last bit of your question, this is absolutely not. So our main aim is to be able to offer to a customer who gets Sky Deutschland via satellite or cable the exact very same experience. Now the difference comes on how you do that, because of course, because we have a partner in the cable guys, we are also limited, and I'm putting that in brackets, but limited by their strategy, the capacity which is available on the cable, the capacity which is available for new channels, and also the fact that by moving to high definition, which is what we are doing very quickly, the concept of capacity on a cable gets to a different level, because an high definition channel needs more capacity than a standard definition channel. So in one end, the experience we want to give to the customer is exactly the same. In the other end, it's not in 100% of cases, because it takes longer to get the customer through to new things we are launching.
There's another element that's also playing or creating some anxiety, and that's this so-called cord cutting element, which maybe Europe hasn't sensed in the same way that the US has. David, have you done any examination in this area?
We have, yes, and just to share a very quick data point, the pay television industry in the US lost 400,000 subscribers in Q2 this year. That's overall in the pay television industry. Cable has actually been losing television customers for quite a few years in the US. Now, that's a short-term trend. Q2 is traditionally weak, so we're still looking at the longer-term trend, and I don't think the jury is still out really on that. When you talk to existing pay television customers, which we've done in the US, we've done in Europe, first of all, the point about price sensitivity, it is clearly there, and it has increased as a result of the economic background. So I think there is always pressure on existing operators to watch pricing. If you ask people, our analysis recently has shown that there are two basic issues going on here. One is the long-term issue of churn. A number of customers are always on the lookout for better deals, and that's something that operators have to continue to face in their daily operations. The relatively new phenomenon is what is being described as cord cutting in the US, which is I am going to stop paying for television service altogether, and I am somehow going to find my television content elsewhere. And there are clearly some customers now who think and say that they are prepared to go to other places. It may be online, it may be to free-to-air television. In the US, we find 14% of people saying that they're looking at doing this. In Germany, surprisingly, the figure is higher at 18%. Now, this is stated intention, and clearly the way that people behave in reality can be quite different. But I think there is a genuine concern. It's something that operators do need to watch.
Yoni, what do you say to your customers when this topic comes up? How do you suggest they address this challenge?
Well, there's some things that we say that we would like to say to our customers, but we don't specifically say it. We wish they would do A, B, C, D. I think that in general, if I just refer to the original question, as you say, there are strong indications that these are happening, but the industry is in a flux right now. You have all these services out there, especially in the US, which are providing viable alternatives to catch up, Hulu Pluses, but it's still a bit chaotic. No one really understands fully the business model behind these. The content owners are still trying models out. And so we need to see how this thing finally fleshes its way through. What we say is, come to the show here, look at our advanced technologies, let's figure out together which of these technologies make business sense to help engage the customer, your customer, to help keep them attached to your platform or associated. And that's the best we do.
Marcello, how are you addressing this challenge? How are you changing that which you offer to make your consumer more sticky, not to go wandering off to a rival?
As cord cutting is the concern. Mostly if we transform cord cutting into churn and intention to churn and intention to go somewhere else. I think the core thing is the customer is not cutting and unplugging their TV-based entertainment. What they're doing, they're choosing a different way to go and look for that. And it's all about the viable alternative they have. Now, the only thing pay TV can do about that is to make sure we keep on doing what our job is, which is delivering great content at a fair price. And now, most probably, if we look at the pay TV definition, we need to reinvent half of that.
Right.
Which is the TV bit. And maybe it's not called TV in the future, which is, it's not as sexy as that, but it's paid entertainment on a screen. And this is, but protecting our content superiority is the best way for us to look for the future.
Absolutely. I mean, you're already relearning, if you like, or putting into practice those lessons. Is it essential, Yoni, that every operator does this? That they have to relearn almost, quarter by quarter, how they address these very, very fast-moving changes?
Traditionally, operators lived in a slow-moving world.
Absolutely.
And until recently, this was fantastic for them. They had a market opportunity. They took their time in identifying it, defining the battle plans, the strategies, the go-to-market. And 4 years later, HD gets deployed. This was the life cycle. I think that now they are seeing much more rapid competition pop up. It's not incredibly painful. It's painful from a marketing brand perspective, because these competitions are usually more advanced functionally, sexier in a way, and so the operators are having to find new ways to run their own businesses. They have very smart people behind the scenes, but organizationally, they are used to the slower cycles. They're used to also vertical technology.
Yes.
They own the technology platform.
Absolutely.
Top to bottom, and we have always been a part of that ecosystem.
And
That's
all of
what
a sudden, these competitive threats, which look very appealing.
They do. And frankly, our worlds are moving to standardization. And we as a technology provider and our customers need to figure this out. In a way, NDS thrives in complexity, on complexity. Someone once said we create complexity. But who? Nobody from your company. Not Brian, that's for sure. But I would say we definitely service complexity very well. That's one of our specialties. I don't think the world of the near future, the next 10 years, is going to become any simpler technologically for our customers. In fact, it'll become more complex. As they move to standards, they still have to support legacy, standardization, and all that. But it's embracing those standards more rapidly, being willing to do trials, smaller trials, focused. And we see them doing that. We see quite a few of our customers are much more open now to embracing that approach.
Right, this is the real $64,000 question, and it's totally impossible to answer with any degree of accuracy. But if your life depended on it, 10 years from now, how will broadcasting and pay television look 10 years from now? Yoni?
Yeah, I don't get to speak last, do I? Maybe not 10 years, but in the thereabouts. I think we are going to be moving to a world of infrastructureless deployment, and the business entities will be able to focus on the business value of what they do best, creating entertainment packages, curating content best, customer service best. But I think that the infrastructure aspect, we've seen it in IT for several years now. The whole cloud term, which I'm scared to overuse because it's being abused, but it is what is happening. And so we will see IT and more so broadcast infrastructure tend to slowly dissolve away, and 10, 15 years from now, we'll be focusing on operators who are pure business entities in a way.
Now, David, in your world, you want hundreds of operators, because then you can compare and contrast, and you can number crunch, and it's all those clients who will pay for their wonderful studies with you. But how do you see it evolving?
Well, my life may not depend on it, but I think my career does depend on looking 10 years ahead, unfortunately. I think I'd just throw out there, I think I would be amazed if we came to IBC 2021 and didn't find cable operators and telcos and satellite companies and even over-the-air broadcasters still playing a very important role in the value chain. So let's put that one out there. I think I'd like to throw a slight curveball, because my analyst interest has always been around the big screen. NDS has some very, very big screens hidden away on the stand over here. But I also have to look objectively at the research. And the reality is, what we're seeing is the big screen is on and it's doing stuff, but increasingly people are sitting there with other devices in front of them and using them and observing them and interacting with them. And it's a slight concern of mine that the tablets or the personal displays, and whatever form they may take in the future, will actually continue to increase in influence on the value chain around television. And I just do wonder what long-term impact that's going to have on big screen entertainment. We all know people love it. We love the home cinema experience. I'm sure there's value in there, but I think there's some very interesting behavioural shifts going on around multi-screen that I think will affect the shape of IBC.
That's food for thought. I think you're absolutely right. Marcello, you've got a whole career ahead of you. You just only come out of the chocolate business 10 years ago.
Exactly. Yes, and you know the thing that you're bright. You have a great career behind you. It's. I have no idea, not even for $64,000, on how the industry will look like in 10 years. 10 years looks like ages if you think about 10 years ago where we were and where we are now. But let's say 5. I think pay TV operators or pay entertainment operators will be up and running and pretty happy. But we will need to do a couple of things. The first one, and I'm building on Yoni's point, which is we need urgently to turn the delivery complexity into usage simplicity for our customer. And if we don't do that, the customer will get so confused that we will fail to state the fact that operators is about content, is about delivery, and watching TV is about sitting back and relax. The second thing I mentioned that before is most probably we need to change our name from pay TV into pay entertainment everywhere.
Sure.
And then the third one is old economy, is content and rights and customer service.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned customer service, because in the end the customer is not serviced by the device, but is serviced by the operator and the company. And sometimes I do think one of the threats for our industry is that we look at distribution, content rights, how good we are, and how good our iPad application is, and the customer gets somewhere in a corner, and there's going to be an hangover. We're going to all go back and ask the customer how you feel.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's sound advice, excellent advice to finish with. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Yoni Hashkes, David Mercer, and Marcello Maggioni. Thank you very much, gentlemen.